My name is Gaurav Kapoor, and without any further ado, I'll just jump straight into the session. It is my privilege and my honor to call on stage to talk about his craft, to talk about his journey, the multifaceted Mr. Farhan Akhtar. Hi Farhan, how are you?
I'm very well, Gaurav. How are you? How is everybody out there? You're having a nice time?
So, film buffs, obviously all. You've been around here, Waves, yesterday as well. What are your first impressions of this event?
It's absolutely an incredible initiative. I think the entertainment industry has for years really wanted to find a place, where they can come together, find other people to collaborate with, associate with, and basically grow in strength. And what has been created here, obviously by the Honorable Prime Minister and then by our Chief Minister here, it's going to be very, very empowering for all creative people, not just in film, but in music, in entertainment in general, in the media. So it's an outstanding thing.
So I know that everyone here, including me, we're looking forward to kind of just unpacking your journey. Now, first up, on behalf of all creative people, I want to say that thank you for making us all look bad and lazy, because as a person who does everything that you do,
I thought I should walk in slower the next time.
Yeah, just get someone to like wheel you in or something, right? I mean, you write, there's music, there's directing, there's acting. I'm going to ask you a very difficult question, which is very difficult for all creative people. But, I don't ask easy questions. Is there one of those which you like slightly more than the others? One that when you're doing, you feel you're in your flow state a little more than the others?
It actually is difficult to answer. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure there are people here. Do we have writers here? Amazing. Do we have directors here? Yes. Do we have any actors here? Yes. Wonderful. So you know that when you're doing this, of course there's a love of the craft of what you're doing, but what you're doing, and you know this in the pit of your stomach, is that you're servicing a story. And when you're servicing a story, whether you do it as a writer, whether you do it as a director, or you do it as an actor, what gives you joy is eventually seeing it all come together when you watch it, whether it's on a small screen or a big screen now. So it's difficult to pick. It's like having a favorite child. You do have one, but you don't share that with the world.
Tell me, do you? I'm going to call them right now and tell them.
But I think where flow is most important is probably in the writing process.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you're, sorry to interrupt, but I've noticed that when you're writing, you tend to get very kind of insular. It's also solitary activity. So is that when you're in your flow state because you're unimpeded by anything or anyone?
Yeah, of course, every writer has a different way of working. There are some writers who work better in teams. Salim Javed is one such great example. In recent times, I have seen Zoya and Rima Kakti working together. And yeah, a round of applause for them, please. I shall tell my dad that Rima and Zoya got an applause, but Salim Javed didn't. He'll come back to writing very soon. But so some people work better in teams. I prefer to work alone. And I think that happens because when I lock myself up in a room and I work, it gives me the freedom to kind of really play out the scenes. I actually end up at times standing up and kind of performing the scene to get a sense if it feels natural or not. I'd probably be embarrassed to do that if there was somebody else in the room, but that works for me. And I feel that the flow in writing is very, very crucial. A lot more than in directing. Of course, in acting, there needs to be one. But with acting and with directing, it's always very stop-start. You cut, you're preparing for another shot. An actor has to switch off, distract himself or herself, do something else and come back and find that form again. But with writing, you have hours dedicated to just being in that zone without any break whatsoever. So the flow is a lot more important.
So let's open the curtain almost cinematically and go with once upon a time, right in the beginning, right? Because I'm going to start with, obviously, the beginning of film that has stood the test of time, which is very rare. Like in the 2000s, you have films that, don't stay. आपके ज़हन में एक हफ्ते, 2 हफ्ते भी नहीं रहती. So a film to survive for 25 years and still hold true. And I'm talking about Dil Chahta Hai, which I'm sure is everybody's, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely, as expected. I feel that you, and I know you won't admit it because you're humble, but you invented a genre in your mid-20s, right? Dil Chahta Hai was the invention of a genre. We had all seen like buddy films in a way, coming of age films. You'd seen all these things, but you'd never seen it that way. So you invented a genre. I'm sure that when you started out, nobody starts out with the intention of inventing the genre. But when you were writing it, when you and Ritesh were putting it together, did you have in your mind that you were doing something which is slightly different from what had been seen before?
The intention was to do something different. It is important to get inspired from other people's work. It is important to understand what it is about something that you've seen that has stayed with you, resonated with you as a viewer. But when you take all that passion and you put it into something that you want to create, it really should not be, you should not end up being an imitation of someone else. I feel that's really, really important. For writers here, for directors here, it is very important to have your own voice, your own opinion, your own idea, your own way of telling a story, because you are unique. Your life experience is different from a person that you may even share a home with. You have a different life experience. So the way you see the world is very different from how other people see it. So to me, it was just wanting to write a film about the world that I knew, about friends that I knew, about how we existed together, the world we existed in, and talk about that. And I had not seen that on screen. I would watch a slightly heightened sense of friendship, a heightened sense of romance, which works really well, of course. Please don't get me wrong. But I felt that there was space for this as well. So when I wrote it very consciously, wanting to write about characters that were real, that everyone who watched that film could feel like, I know someone like this. It wasn't so fantastical that it was out of the imagination of reality. And that's how I approached it. And then, of course, you can't predict what will happen with the film. The one thing that I feel that I have noticed over the last now 25 years of working in film is the one thing that audiences do recognize is that they recognize honesty and they recognize integrity. Those are the two things audiences do realize. They know if you are playing them. They know if you are lying to them. They know if you're making a film just so that you can get a rise out of something. It has to come from a place where you truly, truly believe it. It could be a genre that may not, as an audience, it could be a genre that you may or may not like. But from the filmmaker's point of view, it has to be something that's come from inside.
And I think this could be a valid question for all the first-timers here or who are embarking on their journey for the first time. When you're putting your first film together, you've written the script. Now the time from writing the script to actually going on floor. Yeah. How many times did you feel like giving up? And how many times did you have to overcome that? Thinking, yaar, ye to nahi hoga. Let's do something else. And then go back to it again and try again.
Yeah, the one thing that you need, it's quite amazing because it's a dichotomy of sorts. Because you have to have a lot of empathy when you're writing. You have to have a lot of empathy when you direct. And especially when you act. You have to have a lot of empathy. But to survive in the film industry, you have to have a very thick skin. So you have to have both. You have to keep your heart open and your skin thick. Because rejection is part and parcel. And it's not only rejection when you're starting off. You're going to experience it as your career grows. Nobody has a 100 on 100 track record. Even if people that you see who've scored knockout successes, if you equate that to like a boxing match, You know, I mean, it takes one punch eventually to knock someone out, but think of all the blows that that person took in the round 1 and round 2 and round 3. Those knocks are equally as important for a fighter as finally knocking something out of the park. You know, so there was a lot of rejection. It was very difficult for me to find 3 actors to play the parts of Akash, Sid, and Sameer. It took me a good about a year and a half to 2 years to finally lock down on a cast. Every single person that I met, with the exception, I would say, of Akshay Khanna, who said yes the very first time that he heard it. But everyone else that I met had said no. And it took me a very long time to convince Amir to be able to do the film. And the minute he said yes, then suddenly everything was paradise. And everyone wanted to be a part of that film. So I really have a lot of gratitude for Amir, because on a huge level, you know, him saying yes to the film eventually made it possible for me to make it the way I wanted to make it.
I know this from a small experience. I just created a show called Dabba Cartel, which Excel produced. And I remember when Shivani and I were creating the thing,
Thank you.
the same thing we said. We said once we convince Shabana ji to headline the cast, no actor will say no after that. So let's get that one big actor. And that is the truth, right? Because people you want to collaborate with somebody there. Either a senior actor or now in your case, with a body of work, a director, a producer, like you become. But when you're new, you need that, right? You need that one person to peg it on. I'm saying this because as advice to people here, because a lot of times you don't get that lucky that somebody high profile would say yes. How do they power on then?
No, you'll still make the film. I mean, eventually, if in a hypothetical world, if Amir had said no, I would still go on and make the film with someone else, right? It would probably affect the way I made the film, because it would change probably the economics of the movie to a certain extent, but I would still make the film, and the film would still be the film. But I feel there's a huge difference between the year 1999, when all this was happening, and now where we are. I mean, the avenues of me shooting a film, the ease with which you can make a film now, the outlets that you have to release your film on, excuse me, they didn't exist then. You only had the option of releasing a film theatrically. And for it to go theatrically, for distributors to buy your film, there had to be something of value and something of interest in it for them. It's not the same thing now. I think now the avenues, which is great, it's more democratic now. I feel that it's a great time to be a filmmaker, a great time to be a writer, because your work, if it's good, will find a way to reach the public. You know, you don't necessarily need to depend on it being on a screen anymore. So the time has changed as far as that is concerned.
So you're talking about actors. Did Akshay, there was a change in role for Akshay from the role that you had narrated to him before and what he eventually did?
Yes. So I met Akshay. You know, I must say he's an incredible guy who has, again, just a lot of integrity. I met him, and he actually, I had met him for the role that Amir played in the film. I'd met him for Akash. And he said, I'm on 100%. And then I went off to cast the other 2, and I just couldn't find anyone. I never thought Amir would say yes, so I never went to him. But then, honestly, I mean, and it sounds kind of frivolous and a little bit patronizing now, so please forgive me, but that's not my intention. I went to him eventually because I had no choice. You know, and I went with the feeling that he's going to say no, but since I haven't met him, let me go and meet him. You know, so I met him, and he just happened to like it. And he said, यार मैं करूँगा ये picture, मगर मेरी एक शर्त है कि एक तो, the dialogue was in English at that time. He said, एक तो तू ये dialogue हिंदी में लिख करा, क्योंकि ये जो अंग्रेजी में तू dialogue लिखे है ना, वो तू अंग्रेजी में film बना ले. तो will it work? Will this humor work in Hindi? I don't know. So you write a Hindi draft. और अगर ये picture हिंदी में मुझे अच्छी लगी, I don't want to play Sid's role, which is what I met him for. I don't want to play Sid's role. I want to play the role of Akash. So I said, अच्छा, ठीक है. Now Amir is thrown 2 conditions my way. I said, dialogue तो मैं कर लूँगा. That's not a problem. मगर अब मैं अक्षय का क्या करूँ यार? I have to go and speak to him. So I wrote the dialogue first in Hindi. I met Amir. He really liked it. And then he said, chalo, now let's figure out what to do with this role. So I told him, I said, I've spoken to Akshay. तो he said, यार बात कर ले उससे, he's very okay, he'll be fine. तो I said, ठीक है, okay, मैं बात करता हूँ. So I met Akshay, and fortunately, on some level, Amir and Akshay had just done some world tour. You know, तभी बहुत world tour हुआ करते थे. Actors would go off to different parts of the world, dance, and come back. So they had gone somewhere, and they'd become good friends. So Amir said, even I'll speak to him. And then I met Akshay, and I said, yaar, you know, Amir is really keen to do the film, but he wants to do the part of Akash. So Akshay said, listen, you came and met me. You told me you want me to be Akash. You want me to be Sameer, you want me to be Sid. I don't care, I'm doing any role, but I want to be in this movie. And I mean, I don't know who does that here. I really don't. I'm just always indebted to him for being so gracious. He really is an amazing guy.
That is so cool that first you're looking for actors and nobody's saying yes, and then two say yes for the same role.
Yeah,
So this also, it's bizarre how things happen. When did you realize? Talk to me when the film came out. We'll talk about. I'm very interested in the making of that film as well. But when that film came out, how were you feeling the day before it came, and then that week or 2 weeks of it getting accepted and spreading like wildfire?
yeah, can I tell you something? That actually the first film that a person makes is the easiest film to make. And the reason for that is because before you started that film, you had nothing. You had no career. You didn't have money. You know what I'm saying? You had none of that stuff. And if the film doesn't work, nothing is going to change. You'll still be that same person. The thing that you start getting stressed about is your second film and third film and fourth film. When people start saying, yaar, ye to kuch kamal banayega, then you're starting getting worried. So when Dil Chahta Hai was about to release, I was completely relaxed. Because I was like, yaar, kya hoega? At the most, it won't work. But I mean, obviously, as most people do, जब आप कोई भी काम करते हो, सिर्फ फिल्म मेकिंग के बारे में नहीं है, एक अंदाजा हो जाता है आपको कि यार people are liking it, अच्छी feeling आ रही है, तो on some level it'll do well. But I was very, very relaxed when that film came out because honestly, you have nothing to lose. There really isn't. You know, nobody knew you before this film, and at the most, they won't know you after this film. So I was very relaxed actually.
Did you guys do that luck by chance scene where you and Ritesh were going into theaters and seeing reactions and all?
Yes. हम लोग गए न्यू एम्पायर थिएटर था एक टाउन में. We had gone there. That was the single screen का ज़माना था, तभी multiplex थी नहीं. Which is a very अजीब thing क्योंकि लोग बोलते हैं दिल चाहता is the first multiplex film. There were no multiplexes. There was only one in Delhi, right? So, but we went to New Empire to watch a show, and it was the most. I mean, of course, you're so happy to see your film on the screen. मगर तब आपको अंदाजा होता है, अभी चेंज हो गया मगर उस वक्त हुआ करता था कि पॉपकॉर्न पैकेट की जो आवाज होती है, चिप्स खाने की जो आवाज होती है, जो मतलब the little sounds that are going on in the theater, how much they bother you. You know, little people are talking on the side. आप लोग बात क्यों कर रहे हो? पिक्चर देखो.
जोक मिस हो जाएगा.
जब देखो पॉपकॉर्न खाते रहते हो, give me the packet. So that was some learning कि यार, that's when you realize the investment as a director into a film, that you want the undivided attention of people when they are watching it. So that was my biggest takeaway. But they were laughing and having a great time, and it was incredible to see.
So just in the making of the film, because we've heard a lot of stories about how when you and Ritesh were producing this film, you guys had a very different set. It was a close set and sync sound. और क्या उस टाइम पे फिल्म मेकिंग के लिए नया था फ्रॉम हिंदी फिल्म स्टैंडर्ड्स?
यार उस वक्त क्या हुआ था कि देयर वाज दो तरह के डिसिप्लिन थे. एक डिसिप्लिन था जो ज्यादातर फिल्मों में होता था कि मतलब एक चीफ एडी है और उसके कितने भी सारे एडीज हो सकते हैं, 10 12 11 12 व्हाटएवर नंबर दे वांट टू कीप, एंड एवरीबॉडी डज एवरीथिंग. डबिंग होती थी तो देयर वाज नो इशू ऑफ आप कहीं भी शूट कर लो बिकॉज साउंड डजंट मैटर. ये सारी चीजें थी. And I must say, I have incredible respect especially for actors who functioned in that environment, because you were working with so much noise and so much chaos, and still to see those performances that they pulled off is truly commendable. और एक दूसरी दुनिया थी जो एडवर्टाइजिंग की दुनिया थी उस वक्त जहाँ से मैं आया था. और एडवर्टाइजिंग में ये होता था because brands were very secretive about their product, so they never wanted anybody to see their shoot. क्या शूट हो रहा है, व्हाट डज द पैक लुक लाइक, वो सारी चीजें, स्टोरी क्या है साइड का. तो दे वर ऑलवेज क्लोज सेट्स. नोबडी फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड हु इज नॉट रिलेटेड टू द शूट कुड कम इन. और बिकॉज यू नेवर हैड द एक्टर dates later, ऐसा कुछ था नहीं. So sync sound they would shoot so that whoever came in, the celebrity at that time, had that one day to come and shoot and go. So sync sound, locked sets, quiet sets, closed sets. This was all a part of the advertising world as a norm. So I came from there and I was so used to working that way that I was like, I can't now go कि मैं रास्ते पे shoot कर रहा हूँ और शोर हो रहा है, हंगामा हो रहा है. I'd like this closed set thing to follow me. I'd like to do sync sound. Or Amir had done it. Amir had worked on Deepa Mehta's film Earth, though he had done sync sound. Magar Akshay, Preeti, Saif, Dimple, none of them had done sync sound. So for them, it was a very new thing. And they were very, very worried about how they're going to sound because they were so used to going into a dubbing theater and in some way in their own understanding and in their heads amplifying their performance or enhancing their performance. मगर एक चीज होती है जैसे हम अभी इस वक्त बात कर रहे हैं, there's a tone which you can't, if you're making a film that's meant to be real, it's very, very difficult to capture that tonality again in a studio just by yourself. So I wanted to avoid that because the film also demanded that. But sorry, just to digress from this, again to people who are here, who are new, ऐसा मतलब सिर्फ दिल चाहता है के टाइम पर नहीं हुआ है. Before that, जब silent films थे, फिर talkie films आई, then 3D came and went. It went from black and white to color. It went from 35 mm to 70 mm. There's constantly been evolution in technology with VFX. Now AI, everybody's talking about. And I feel that as filmmakers, we have to keep our eyes, ears, minds open to what is emerging. And not approach, of course, approach it with education. Educate yourself about these things because otherwise they will always scare you. Because we all learn in a certain way. We've all been taught in a certain way. And the minute that language of telling a story changes because of technology in terms of how you can do it, many people start feeling like, whether you want to call it insecure, afraid, outdated even, so a huge part of being a filmmaker is constantly staying in touch with evolving technology of storytelling. Because a director's job is to be able to tell a story as effectively as possible, given what is available to her or to him. So I feel that educating yourself constantly and not coming from a place of I've sab seekh liya hai, so now I know what to do, because the world is constantly changing around you.
Wow, that's so interesting because I think the older we get, the more averse we get to change. तो डर लगता है कि कुछ नया आ गया है, क्या हो रहा है, हमें replace कर देगा ये. I think that's the problem everyone's having with AI. In your first film, and I'm coming to the other ones also, but the first is always more interesting and I think a little more relevant to the people over here. So you're on set over there and you have a senior actor like Dimple Kapadia, who's been in films pretty much from the time you were born.
यार अगर आप Dimple को बोलेंगे वो senior actor, she'll give you one slap.
Yeah.
She's the youngest person at heart and was on set as well.
But experience-wise, right? Yes. So experience-wise, she's been on a few film sets.
Yeah.
Amir Khan had been acting for over a decade by that time. कभी ऐसा feeling दोनों तरफ से, कभी आपकी तरफ से हुआ कि यार मैं इसको क्या सिखा रहा हूँ यार, मैं कभी एक imposter syndrome की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, वो कभी होता है?
नहीं, एक तो चीज होती है कि maybe it happens only in our industry. Directors are not meant to teach anybody acting. It is not your job to teach acting to anybody. You have to cast actors and get people.
Please, let's talk about this movie. It's very interesting because the impression a lot of people have of directing is कि director खड़ा, और हमने काफी director से सुना भी है कि वो खड़े होके खुद enact करते हैं scene. पर वो that is not technically a director's job because you've hired the actor to do that.
नहीं, वो definitely ये होगा कि वो actor फिल्मों में actor बनने आया था, मगर director बन
नहीं पाया,
और बन गया director. तो अब भड़ास
उसके अरमान
तो सेट पे भड़ास निकल रही है.
तो आपका क्या प्रोसेस है? How do you approach an actor on set? आप क्या कहते हैं?
यार, first you have to go back. Obviously दिल चाहता है में the choices were limited because I had to work. I got very lucky like we discussed earlier. But you had to work with who was available to you, and I had said yes. That would have required a little bit more of maybe sharing what it is that I imagine this character to be. But on set, to tell a director or to tell an actor how to perform, I feel is insulting to an actor, right? It's insulting because they are there for that job. As a director, you are the first audience of that performance. You are actually watching the first performance. And as a viewer, is it making me laugh if it's a funny scene? Is it making me cry if it's a sad scene? Is it moving me if it's some kind of a heartfelt scene? Am I entertained when it's a... That's my... we are human beings here, and you're affected in a certain way. If that is not happening to you, rest assured it will not happen to the audience. It's not going to happen. So your job is really to keep fine-tuning what the emotional quotient of the scene is, and trying to move the actor closer to what it is that this scene is about. Why is something meant to be funny? And trying to get them to work on that, but never telling them कि यहाँ पर pause लो, यहाँ पर एक tear गिरना चाहिए. You know, that's not your job at all. You know, sorry, I just want to go back to one thing when you mentioned Dimple's name. So, जब Dimple आई set पे, so I had spoken to her, we had cast her in the film, but the one thing that I had not done was I had not called her anything, because I didn't know, I can't call her Dimple auntie. She would got very upset, and I can't call her Dimple at that time because I was like, she might feel I'm being too rude. So I would just say, Ji, yes, okay, yes ma'am, ऐसे मैं कर रहा था. So when we were working also, we started work, and if I had to call her, so I couldn't say, acha listen, call Dimple. I could not say that. So I would be like, acha, are you ready, ma'am? Please come. So one day after 2-3 days, she says, why are you not calling me by my name? So I said, I don't know what to call you. She's like, you better call me Dimple. If your Dimple auntie comes out of your mouth, I am quitting. I am leaving this film. She's an amazing person to work with. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's jump to, I want to talk about Lakshya, because you decide के अच्छा अब ये close set बहुत हो गया, अब सीधा हिमालय पे चढ़ते हैं, ठीक है? तो ये जो jump आपने वहां से सबसे difficult level पे जो मारी है, of what was it, 14,000 feet above sea level, 16,000 feet, 16,000 feet above sea level, from sea level of Carter Road and Bandstand, you jump straight to 16,000. तो ये कहाँ से आया कि बहुत मतलब अभी नीचे का बहुत हो गया, अभी सीधा ऊपर जाएंगे?
यार, it just came from एक कहानी लिखी थी, डैड ने लिखी है वो फिल्म. And actually the interesting thing about that film is that he wrote the film. वो गए थे, sorry, I'm just sharing a story with you all. वो गए थे 2001 में वो गए थे कारगिल. He was invited for Kargil Divas, and he was invited to lay a wreath on the memorial that's been built there for the fallen soldiers of Operation Vijay. वो वहाँ पर थे तो उनकी मुलाकात हुई एक सीनियर आर्मी ऑफिसर से, जिन्होंने उनसे कहा कि आप देख रहे हैं जावेद साहब, यहाँ पर इतने सारे लोग आए हैं, प्रेस है, ये है, वो है, सब कह रहे हैं कि मतलब जो हमारे बॉयज़ ने किया है is absolutely unimaginable. It's just the will of the officer and the soldier that has allowed us to win these peaks back, because we were fighting up, which is a very, very difficult thing to do. But it's only their tenacity that allowed for it to happen. और सब वाह कर रहे हैं कि ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, मगर the sad, जो एक अफसोस की बात है वो ये है कि हर साल जो youngsters हैं जो officers के रोल में who enroll to be officers, वो संख्या जो है वो घटती जा रही है. Lesser and lesser people are thinking of the army, educated people are thinking of the army as a career option. So we are saying that they are so great and they are so amazing, but not that many people want to do these jobs anymore. So he said, I will write a film to inspire people to join the army. So that's really how that film started, which was an amazing thing. So then he told me this story, जो मैंने अभी आपके साथ share किया. He shared that with me. And then he shared with me, of course, the story itself. And I was completely blown away. And for me, after having done a film like Dil Chahta Hai, it felt like such an incredible challenge also as a director to move so far away from not just my comfort zone physically, you know, but even emotionally, to understand the inner workings of the armed forces, to understand their mindset, how they function, how they live, what drives them, was learning for me. That movie was a learning for me on all fronts. I mean, I learned, of course, about the army, but I also learned about how challenging filmmaking can be, because it was a very, very challenging film to make. not just for me, for the other crew, for the cast, but we really banded together. And for me, the learning as a filmmaker, as a producer, that happened on Laksh has never happened since then. That even in the toughest of places, in the toughest of circumstances, you require a team that you can really, really rely on, a team that can really come together, and if that happens, you can make something that hopefully will be there for people to watch for years to come. And it was just an absolutely incredible experience.
Just quickly, if you could tell us 2-3 of the challenges you had while shooting that film. कितना लंबा schedule था वो?
हम लोग लद्दाख में थे 5 महीने.
Wow.
We were there for 5 months. Or that time Ladakh was cut off from the world. There was no mobile phone. There was nothing. So it really was just being a community by yourself. And just having each other to depend on, to spend time with, to entertain each other. And the one, जो आप पूछ रहे हैं अगर कुछ ऐसा हुआ था, तो एक मुझे बहुत अच्छी तरह याद है कि जो शूटिंग हुई थी वो आखिरी सीन की, जब ऋतिक जाकर फ्लैग लगाता है वो पीक 5179 पे. दैट लोकेशन वाज अ लोकेशन कॉल्ड तांगलांगला, और उसकी हाइट थी रफली अबाउट 17,300 फीट, वेयर वी वेंट एंड शॉट. तो हम लोग ले से निकले एंड इट वाज वेरी फार अवे. इट वाज अ 4.5 hour ड्राइव टू गेट देयर. तो वी गॉट देयर. वहाँ पर उन्होंने एक टेंट सिटी बनाई थी, तो वी कुड स्टे द डे देयर, प्लान ऑल आवर शॉट्स. One day, wake up early in the morning, shoot that scene, and then come back. So we stayed there. It was freezing cold. We woke up. Everybody wakes up, of course, for a sunrise shot. You're waking up. It's completely dark. The temperature must have been, I don't know, -12, -13 at that time. हम लोग सब setup किया, crane setup किया उस altitude पे. सारी चीजें हुई. ऋतिक के साथ rehearse किया थोड़ा dark में before the sun comes up. And then finally sunrise happened. We did all the shots that we needed. And we packed up our stuff. And I'm talking about teamwork. A crane, actors were carrying weights of the crane back. We are all carrying those crane weights back. It wasn't like, chalo, hamara kaam ho gaya, niklo. It was like a team that went there and did it. और हमने शूट की वो सीन, we shot that scene. आए वापस, सबको इतनी खुशी हुई कि यार ये एक डिफिकल्ट चीज़ था जो हमारे शूट का शेड्यूल था, वो अब हो गया है. नाउ वी आर बैक इन ले, थोड़ा आराम मिल जाएगा. और तब वक्त था फिल्म पे हम शूट कर रहे थे. डिजिटल था नहीं कि यू कुड वॉच इट इमीडिएटली. तो वहाँ से रील्स निकली. पीपल कैरिड इट बैक टू चेन्नई जहाँ पर प्रोसेसिंग हो रही थी. प्रोसेसिंग हुई, वहाँ से एक मैसेज हमें आया कि वी हैव सम बैड न्यूज़ कि एक कैमरा जो आपका है, which was the zoom lens, which was all of Ritik's close-ups, they are completely out of focus. So something had gone wrong in the calibration of that day, or maybe while the camera was traveling over those roads. The roads were very bad at that time. Now they are amazing. So we were all so depressed कि यार अभी वापस जाना पड़ेगा, फिर से वो करना पड़ेगा, फिर से वहाँ उठना पड़ेगा, फिर से वही क्रेन लगानी पड़ेगी. We have to do everything again. So everyone was sad, but then everyone picked themselves up, and that's where this team thing. Everybody was like, no, come on, we can do it. Let's think of it as an adventure. Now, when we went back to do it, we did the same thing. गए वहाँ पर, रात में सो गए, सुबह में उठे. The day that we got was the most incredible, beautiful sunrise, which is in the film. The first day that we had shot was completely cloudy. You could not see the valley below. You could not see anything. And when we went back, we were like, this was just meant to be. So to just find that, it's an unbelievable. So that sadness, because we were like, we live with it. We are not going to come back here and shoot again. वो क्लाउड मिल गया, थोड़ा भी कर लो, choice है नहीं. But when we went back, we got what you see now in the film. So that's just one such thing. But it was a difficult thing to get past जब वो न्यूज़ आई कि सब कुछ out of focus है.
यार ये इतनी अच्छी बात है ना. इस स्टोरी में एक क्रिएटिव मेटाफर है ऑलमोस्ट फॉर ऑल क्रिएटिव पीपल, फॉर एवरीबॉडी हु राइट्स, डायरेक्ट्स, क्रिएट्स, म्यूजिशियंस एक्सेट्रा. देयर इज मैजिक जस्ट वन टर्न अहेड.
Absolutely.
The belief.
Yeah, I honestly, there are things like this that have happened, but many other things on other films. I genuinely believe that everything that happens, it happens for a reason. There is no, it feels like a mistake. It feels like a coincidence. It feels like something, but there is something that's leading you on to achieving something better. So every for the lack of another word, if you want to call it a failure, you want to call it a setback, a hurdle, when it comes your way, it's actually happening so that the next thing that comes along actually gives you a chance to improve on something. And these little lessons like this, they've actually taught me that not to get too stressed when things aren't working out, because there obviously is some larger plan, at work. Like I feel this about casting. We were talking about casting earlier. Like I genuinely believe that your roles have actors waiting for them. So all the people who are saying no were never meant to be that person. The person who eventually says yes actually is the person who was waiting for this role to come to her. I genuinely believe that. So now I don't get stressed about these things anymore.
I mean, ये casting वाली बात तो the holy grail of this story comes from your father only, from Zanjeer, right?
Of course,
That's
absolutely.
the holy grail of this actor waiting for a part and everybody else saying no, so that one legend, so to speak, can be born.
Absolutely, absolutely.
कोई ऐसा सीन आपने कभी लिखा है जो आपको लगा कि ठीक है, अच्छा है, पर सडनली जब परफॉर्म हुआ और जब आपने स्क्रीन पे देखा तो बिल्कुल ही पेज से निकल के आया, वो ऐसे निखर के उभर के आया that it even caught you by like pleasantly surprised?
Let me think. Actually the thing that I feel can surprise you, it's not drama. Drama, because I think when you're writing it, you understand, and actors love drama. I mean, they love to perform drama as well. You give them a good scene with some meat and drama and emotional conflict in it. I mean, any actor worth his or her salt will give you a great performance. The thing that is difficult to do is comedy. Comedy is really, really tough to do. And you do it really well. Come on. Great timing. And the ability to keep a straight face. Because humor only works on screen when the actor doesn't betray that it's funny. The audience has to find it funny. The actor should not find it funny. They are doing it in utter seriousness and sincerity. So comedy can surprise you. And I remember very clearly this one scene, going back to Dil Chahta Hai, this one scene that happens between Akshay and Saif, when Akshay comes back for a short break and they're talking about that ek balloon, wo heart shape wala balloon, wo wala scene. So in that, actually, Saif did a lot of improv, which completely blew my mind. So the dialogue was ऐसा कुछ था कि, and can you believe कि उसे वो heart shape balloon खरीद कर देता है, and Akshay laughs. But he really got into it. No? He said that, Rose, ek balloon, all that kind of stuff. So that really, really kind of surprised me. So I feel comedy, when an actor really gets into it and improvs on comedy, that can really, really work.
मेरे एक सैफ का एक और भी डायलॉग है उसमें जो मेरा बहुत फेवरेट है, एंड आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल विल रिमेंबर इट आल्सो, कि केक खाने के लिए हम कहीं भी आ सकते हैं, राइट? एवरीबॉडी, अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल लाइक दैट डायलॉग. देयर इज improv in comedy is always good like 100%. That. Okay, let's jump to the film that a lot of people want to talk about, Don को पकड़ना. अरे वहाँ पे एक डॉन टाइप के कैरेक्टर भी बैठे हैं, देखिए वो चश्मा पहन के वहाँ पे एक यहाँ पे बैठे हैं. हेलो, हाउ आर यू? भाग जाइए नहीं तो को पकड़ लेगा आपको. डॉन इज, मतलब मेरी तो बड़ी फेवरेट फिल्म थी जब मैं छोटा था. मेरे पास 2 VHS टेप्स थी जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे दिल्ली में. एक डॉन की टेप थी, एक सत्ते पे सत्ता की टेप थी. उसको हमने 50-100 बारी देख लिया था. व्हाट मेड यू थिंक के ये क्लासिक फिल्म है, चलो इससे पंगा लेते हैं हम?
यार मैं आपको बताऊं, द जेनेसिस ऑफ रीमेकिंग डॉन इज द फनीएस्ट. इट हैज नथिंग टू डू विथ कि मैंने वो कहानी के बारे में सोचा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. मैं ट्रेन में जा रहा था फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू देहरादून. आई वाज गोइंग टू द IMA एक्चुअली फॉर लक्ष्य के बन जाने के बाद वी हैड वन इवेंट दैट वी हैड टू अटेंड एट द IMA. तो मैं ट्रेन में बैठा और मैं जा रहा था देहरादून, और ट्रेन का जो एक लवली वंडरफुल रॉकिंग मूवमेंट था, एंड आई हैड माय हेडफोन्स ऑन, और मैं सुन रहा था डॉन का बैकग्राउंड म्यूजिक, द फेमस थीम ऑफ डॉन. And there was something about that rocking movement of the train. Then that visual came to me of Bachchan Saab running alongside the train. When he's being chased by Iftikhar Saab and the police and all that was going on. And I just thought, what a wonderful scene that was. And how nice. And dawn in a train. And now I wish he had come into the train. And all this started going through my head. So I told Zoya, she was sitting right next to me. So I told Zoya, Zoya, someone should really remake Dawn. And she said, but you're a director. Why don't you make it? That's really as simple as it happened. So I was like, yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. Let me make it. So I thought that it would be a very interesting remake. It would be a lot of fun to do. It was a film that actually, in terms of its suave and sophistication, was ahead of its time when it came out in the late 70s. So I thought it could adapt itself really well to to the world in 2006. But I struggled with, when I started writing it, कि यार मैं इसमें नया क्या करूँगा? It's already such a great film, and you can't just take the film and make the same film because फिर आप वही देख लो. It's so great. मतलब why bother with it? So like, what can I do different? And the thing that then really like kind of emerged was the dialogue कि डॉन को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं नामुमकिन है. जो आदमी ये डायलॉग बोलता है वो कैसे पकड़ा जा सकता है? How can that person get caught? So the whole film then became about this guy we have to do the same story, but that guy has to be Don at the end. That's how it happened.
Nice.
So I wanted to give life, new meaning, I guess, to that dialogue. So not only is he escaping from the characters in the film, he's also getting away from your imagination. Because आपको लगता है कि वो he's been caught, he's been killed. And at the end he gets away telling you कि डॉन को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं नामुमकिन है. So that's how it happened.
Geez, that's an amazing thought. And then, obviously, this generation, and I guess our generation sees Bachchan Saab as Don, but also we really accepted Shah Rukh as the new Don because he's just so cool.
Absolutely amazing. He was absolutely amazing. I don't think, I mean, there is the personality that Shah Rukh has was, I think, tailor-made for that part. You know, I spent so much before the film. I mean, him and I got to be friends just after Dil Chahta Hai, when we started spending some time together. So from 2001 onwards, pretty much till 2005, when he said yes to doing Dawn, we had spent many evenings together, a lot of time together. And when I started writing it, I was convinced that it had to be him. Unka jo sense of humor hai, jo ek self-deprecating style hai, you know, he can be very charming even while being menacing. So all this was just inherently in the character, you know. So I had no, मतलब मैं था ही नहीं कि मतलब मैं और किसी के पास जाऊँ. So I was like, I'll go to him, and of course for him, Dawn is a massive. He's a huge fan of the film Dawn. He's a huge fan of Mr. Bachchan. So to step into those shoes and step into that role, I think was very exciting for him.
थोड़ा सा डर लगा था कि यार अगर ना बोल दिया इसने कि यार नहीं ये तो कल्ट क्लासिक है मैं नहीं करूँगा.
नहीं, I don't think Shah Rukh is scared like that of things. I think he's very confident in his ability.
But were you nervous कि what if he says no?
No, I wasn't. I knew. I mean, again, हम लोग इतना वक्त एक साथ बिता रहे थे उस वक्त मैंने उसको बोला था कि मैं लिख रहा हूँ ये सब हो रहा है.
He knew.
Yeah. He was very excited. I think before me telling him also, he was prepared कि आएगा मेरे पास ही. I think he was ready. So no, he just immediately said yes.
Tell me, as an actor, when you're acting on set and somebody else is directing you, कभी कभी अंदर से लगता है कि नहीं यार ये तू ठीक नहीं बता रहा यार मैं बताता हूँ तेरे को. Thought I know you won't say.
इसके दो जवाब हैं. एक है politically correct और एक है politically correct.
कौन सा सुनना चाहेंगे आप लोग?
और दूसरा है correctly political. नहीं ऐसा नहीं है यार. I think it's important again to know what your role is on a set. It's very important. कि everybody is there to service a certain job, to service a certain role. So when I go to set, मैं director के साथ इतनी बातें कर चुका हूँ before we get on to set. मतलब we have arrived at a place जो हम दोनों के लिए बिल्कुल एक सही tone है, एक सही pitch है, to understand it everything. So on set, not at all. I have to leave the director to do his or her job. Or you know Zoya, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine me going and telling Zoya? No.
नहीं.
Next thing I'll be jobless. मुझे recast कर चुकी होगी वो.
Yeah, you're like घर ही बैठो मत आओ इधर. When you write something, let's start with the process. When you write something, who's your first sounding board? Because you have a lot of geniuses around you in your family. Who is your idea sounding board?
I actually give it to a couple of people. I give it to Zoya to read. I give it to my mom to read. I give it to my dad to read. I give it now to Shibani to read. So I think it's predominant, and of course in the office there's Ritesh, there's Qasim, a couple of people there. So it's about 6 or 7 people that I give my draft to read. And because I know for a fact that all of them firstly understand what it is that I am enjoying about what I'm writing. So they're not seeing it from an outsider's perspective. It's actually an extension of my sensibility and my aesthetic that they're reading it with. So those are the people I trust initially.
And who is the most brutal with their feedback?
By far, Dad. By far. उन्होंने मतलब मैंने दिया उनको कभी एक कहानी पढ़ने के लिए उन्होंने पढ़ी है and then he's called me मुझे तुमसे कुछ ज़रूरी बातें करनी है तो घर आ जाओ. When that happens I know he's not liked it. So I go and then he'll sit down and be like क्यों बनाना चाहते हो ये फिल्म? Then I'll tell him मुझे ये लगा लोग don't make it. That's also happened.
टाइम नहीं वेस्ट करते.
नहीं बिल्कुल नहीं बिल्कुल.
सीधा.
No, not at all. He'll like, don't make this film. Write something else. You are a good writer. Write something else. But you need people like that. Because also, I mean, again, all creative people can get carried away with their own ideas. सबको लगता है कि यार मैंने जो लिखा है ना बॉस सबको ऐसा लगता है and sometimes you need some reality checks. Everybody makes mistakes and everybody gets carried away. But it's good to have people around you who can constantly keep bringing you back to earth.
तो फिर जो आपने इतनी सारी चीजें बनाई हैं उनमें सबसे ज्यादा पसंद उनको कौन सी आई जावेद साहब को?
जो मैंने डायरेक्ट किया
डायरेक्ट किया या लिखा या जो भी आपका कोई काम जो बड़ा पसंद
he
है?
loved दिल चाहता है. I mean, now Laksh I can't say because he wrote it, but दिल चाहता है he absolutely loved. He loved Rock On. He loved भाग मिल्खा भाग. He loved जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा. He loved दिल धड़कने दो. So yeah, there's many films that he's really loved.
मैं आपको एक किस्सा बताता हूँ. So I'm very fortunate because we've been friends for a long time. I get to see kind of the first cuts or the first screening of most films. And हमने तलाश की पहली स्क्रीनिंग देखी थी और हम स्क्रीनिंग देखने गए और उसके फिल्म के पहले एक ट्रेलर आया, भाग मिल्खा का ट्रेलर. हमने कुछ नहीं, हमें बस पता था कि ये बड़े टाइम से भाग रहा है और कार्बोहाइड्रेट नहीं खा रहा, सिर्फ प्रोटीन खा रहा है. जब बाहर भी डिनर के लिए आता था तो डब्बा लेके आता था. वेरी very interesting dinner guest. He would come with his little dabba and just eat that. And we just knew, and he was waiting. He was always wearing like loose clothes and, you know, hoodies and stuff. And suddenly this trailer comes and we're all, हम कुछ 40-50 दोस्त सब गैंग सब बैठे देख रहे हैं और वो लास्ट वाला शॉट आता है जब ये बारिश में भाग रहे हैं और अपना ये 16 पैक लेके और हम सबके पॉपकॉर्न गिर गए, जबड़ा गिर गया. हम स्क्रीन देख रहे हैं, हमने कहा कहाँ है ये, किधर है भाई, इसको लाओ. एंड इट वाज सच, हमने कहा भाई ये कर रहा था पिछले 1 साल से तो बहुत बढ़िया है, मत खा कार्बोहाइड्रेट, करते रहे. जस्ट टू डू दैट, मतलब हम लोग ना थोड़े लेजी लोग हैं सब, शॉर्टकट लेने के थोड़े आदी हैं. आई हैव नोटिस्ड यू नेवर टेक शॉर्टकट्स ऑन एनीथिंग. टेल मी अबाउट द हार्डशिप of just physically preparing for that film.
Yeah, you know, that film was driven by something else. I don't know how to explain it. Milkha Ji's story, meeting Milkha Ji, hearing his story from his mouth, also understanding why does he want this film to be told? Why is he sharing the story with the world? He was sharing it because, and which is a fact, कि उनकी मिसाल दी जाती है. आप किसी भी एथलीट को पूछ लीजिए, वो किसी भी जनरेशन से हो, कि यार ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हो ना, मिल्खा सिंह जैसी ट्रेनिंग करो. He was known for training harder than anybody else. कि वो झोंक देते थे अपने आप को into the flames. And that is what he wanted. उनका एक चीज, the thing that he always felt bad about, he said मैं बहुत करीब आया था 60 Olympics में to win a medal. 1960 से लेकर अभी हाल ही में people have won, which is a great thing, but for close to 60 years, or at least 55 years, ऐसा क्यों हुआ है कि ट्रैक एंड फील्ड में इंडिया हैज बीन अनएबल टू विन वन सिंगल मेडल? वी हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू विन. क्या कमी है? ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब वी डोंट हैव एथलीट्स, वी डोंट हैव रनर्स, वी डोंट हैव मैराथन रनर्स. हैं, व्हाट इज इट? व्हाट आर दे मिसिंग? So he wanted to just make a film to tell a younger generation of athletes, work hard, train hard, And that's how you'll be able to achieve it. Make sacrifices. Don't think about where you, like, leave your past now. Like, keep focusing on your skill. तो जब उन्होंने ये सब मुझसे कहा तो आई वॉज वेरी मोटिवेटेड एंड लाइक कंप्लीटली, मतलब आई वॉज सेट ऑन फायर बाय हिम. तो उस वक्त मैं बिल्कुल ये नहीं सोच रहा था कि मुझे कितने बजे उठना है, कितना भागना है, कितनी कम खाना है, ज्यादा खाना है. आई वॉज पोजेस्ड. And I just feel that it was his energy that kind of came not just into me. It came into Rakesh, it came into the DOP, into the other actors. We were carried by something. It was absolutely magical. And I think that's him. It's his blessing, his energy that came to all of us. So मुझे बिल्कुल कोई शिकायत. I just had the best time of my life. It was difficult, but I never once woke up. I used to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, go and train for 2.5 hours at प्रियदर्शनी पार्क. फिर मैं सोता था. आई वॉज ओनली डूइंग एथलेटिक लाइफस्टाइल फॉर 8 months. मतलब मैंने बाकी सारे काम छोड़ दिए थे. सारे काम मैंने छोड़ दिए थे. तो मैं आई वुड ट्रेन इन द मॉर्निंग, eat, go to sleep, wake up, train in the evening, eat, go to sleep. I did that for 8 months straight. I did nothing else. And that's obviously why I think it was, the performance was, at least the physical aspect of it was what it was.
और उस टाइम पे सपने आते थे समोसे या कुछ कुछ?
नहीं, वो तो राकेश मेहरा थे मेरे सामने. जब मैं बैठता था तो मुझे मिलता था एक कटोरी में आती थी स्टीम ब्रोकली, और एक कटोरी में आती थी थोड़ी लिटिल बिट ऑफ ब्लैक दाल. एंड फिर हो सकता है ऑन अ गुड डे देयर वुड बी लाइक 4 or 5 pieces of some chicken tikka. That was my lunch, that was my dinner. For 8 months I only ate broccoli, dal and chicken tikka for 8 months, right? And जब हम शूट कर रहे हैं कहाँ? पंजाब में शूटिंग हो रही है, दिल्ली में शूटिंग हो रही है, और जो वहां पर फ्रेश खाना बन रहा है, रोटियां बन रही हैं तवे पे, नान बन रहे हैं, और वहां से एक सुगंध आ रही है ये सारी रोटियों की,
तंदूर की.
हाँ, ओ माय गॉड. एंड राकेश द सेडिस्ट, राकेश ऐसे 2 पराठे उठा के मेरे पास आता था, ये देखो, ये देखो. एंड इट वाज ऑल, आई वुड जस्ट थिंक इनसाइड, यार तू सेट पे, मैं तेरे को बताता हूँ. That's what was happening inside of me, but it was an incredible experience.
Do you remember your first cheat meal when that finished?
I think I've told you. हम लोग, हमारी शूटिंग जो खत्म हुई वो दिल्ली में खत्म हुई, और जो सीन लास्ट में हम लोग शूट किया was the most punishing scene when I have to slap myself in front of the mirror. That was the last scene that we shot. तो राकेश saved that for the end.
Yeah.
मैं इसको, अब वो खुद अपने आप को मारेगा. मैंने इतना, मतलब इसे निचोड़ा है पिछले 12 महीने से, अब मैं इसे पिटाऊंगा खुद अपने आप से ही. तो that was the last thing that we did. So I slapped myself in that scene. Cut हुआ वो scene. राकेश said, चलो, film is done, pack up. I got into the car. I looked at my driver and I said, निरुलास चलिए. तो हम सीधा निरुलास पहुंचे. मैंने कहा, I want a triple chocolate sundae with everything on it. and I think I don't know when I started it and when I ended it. It was gone in one bite. Yeah.
Was there a little tear going down your eye when you were eating it?
Yeah, must have been. 100%.
एक आंसू.
100% होगा. मुझे याद नहीं है मगर होगा.
Out of all the films you've acted in, let's talk just as an actor. सबसे ज्यादा मजा कौन से सेट पे आया है?
By far जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा है.
Yeah.
By far. Light film, दोस्तों के साथ बन रही है film. All of us, अभय, ऋतिक, अभय. Then of course Zoya, crew में भी जो, we are all good friends. We are in such beautiful locations. Every 2 days we are waking up in somewhere and going, wow, how lucky are we? You know, great music, fun car to drive, great food in Spain, great weather, no complaints, fun script. So just amazing.
The mental boy, जो dialogue है, is it based on a real person actually?
हाँ है, हमारे स्कूल में थे एक मिस्टर ददूबे. We used his name also in the script.
Yeah.
थे वो.
What a tribute.
Real person. हमारे PE instructor थे, PT instructor. His name was Mr. Dubey. तो वो ऐसे हमेशा कहते थे कि and now coming to bowl the very good the bowler, the bhav in the gala, right? ऐसे. तो ऐसा होता था वहाँ पे. तो we just took that. And his daughter called me after the film released. Mr. Dubey has passed away since then. His daughter called me and she said, I'm so happy to see that you all have paid a tribute to my father
So
in
sweet.
the film. Yeah.
So sweet. I know that a few people will definitely have questions over here. But before they do, if you were to give just one piece of advice to upcoming creative people, genre agnostic, what is that one thing, the one true north that guides you, that you would perhaps want to pass down to people?
I think just to put it as simply as I can, don't be a character in somebody else's story. Write your own story. Everybody has the ability. All you need, I genuinely believe in this, is passion takes you only that far. You have to have discipline. Without discipline, you could be a flash in the pan. You may have a great 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But to have a career, you have to have discipline. And I feel that's most important.
एंड डिसिप्लिन डिसिप्लिन के बारे में आपको बता सकता हूं मैं, इस आदमी का डिसिप्लिन इरिटेटिंग है, मतलब इरिटेटिंग लेवल पे है कि क्रिकेट की गेम्स कैंसिल हो जाएंगी, डिनर कैंसिल हो जाएंगे, बर्थडे पार्टी पे नहीं आएंगे क्योंकि अगले सुबह ट्रेनिंग करनी है 4:30 बजे और ब्रोकली खानी है शाम के 6 बजे. तो बट दैट्स व्हाट यू नीड if you want to achieve all these things. He's absolutely right. I'm going to leave it open to some of you if anybody has a question.
Hi, you're a big inspiration to me, not just because of the kind of stories you tell, but because of your equal love for acting and directing, something I resonate a lot with. You've never acted and directed together in the same project. This is something I've been considering a lot. I don't necessarily love it, but often it's an avenue to, kind of position yourself the way you want to, really tell that story the way you want to. Have you ever thought about this? What are your thoughts?
To be honest, I have thought about it, but I still don't feel comfortable to be able to do it. There are people who have done it incredibly successfully. We have many names across the world, including in India. There's Guru Dutt Sahab. There's many people, who have done it. I am not comfortable doing it because I feel that when I'm directing, I feel like my calling on set is very different than my calling when I'm there as an actor. When I go as an actor, I want to be very focused on just what I'm supposed to do. I then don't want to think about set dressing and I don't want to think about other things. But that's just me. I work well in watertight compartments. There are people who are a little bit more free-flowing. My personality is not that. So I feel my personality doesn't allow for that to happen easily. And I think which holds me in good stead when I direct, when I act, when I write, because I cut off from everything else around me. But it's your journey, and if you feel confident, it's about confidence. It's about confidence. If you feel confident that you can do it, then you absolutely can do it, and you should do it. You must do it.
You should try it. Just don't talk to yourself as actor director. No, don't do. Kya shot diya? Thank you, sir.
जैसे मैंने कहा इनकी कॉमेडी टाइमिंग है काफी जबरदस्त.
It's about the show hotline that you used to host, and that is you should bring it back.
क्या बात कर रहे हैं? I'll tell you why hotline will not succeed right now, because we used to use landlines at the time, and those don't exist anymore. But thank you, man. That show was in the year 2003. Yeah, 2000 to 2003.
Yes.
We ran that show. It was a daily show where people used to call and request for songs. That doesn't exist in today's world because you can press a button and listen to any song that you want. But thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. That's very sweet of you. Thank you.
I want to become a director, so how can I become?
I don't know who's stopping you. You are stopping yourself. You become a director, you want to direct. Today, you can direct a phone, you can on your phone. You can make a film you can shoot HD, you can shoot 4K on your phone now. So if you want to work with a writer or write your own script, but nothing should stop you.
Yeah.
I think
just do it.
To help you, I'll make Farhan answer one question. क्या आपको याद है कि if you were in school or something, when's the first time you sort of directed, like your friends, कि यहाँ खड़े हो जाओ, ऐसे कर दो, or like a handicap? Do you remember the first time that thing came in your head?
No. Actually, जब मैं school में था, I was more of a performer than behind the scenes, because that used to was very that made you popular with the girls. So that's why I used to be like more of a performer. But the minute I finished school and I got into college and stuff, I got very interested in writing. Actually, my love for direction also started from writing. And when I wrote Dil Chahta Hai, it felt like such an extension of my life that I was like, this is the film that I have to direct. I cannot give this to someone else to make. So that's really how my transition from writing into directing happened, that I wrote something that compelled me to direct it. That's really what happened.
Thank you so much.
So find a story that is an extension of you. Find a story that's an extension of you and write it. Even if that's about your love for strawberry ice cream. You know, whatever it is. Don't wait for it to be Mughal Azam.
How did you think of adding an element like Bagwati in Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? And how was it like sharing a seat with Bagwati in the back seat of the car?
Yeah, you know, one of the most important things, which I think we maybe didn't mention, one of a very, very important thing in any creative field, I mean, whether you're acting, whether you're writing, whether you're directing, is reading. Reading is a very, very important part of being creative. Because what reading does is it's constantly using your muscles of imagination. Because a book does not paint a picture, does not show you a visual. You paint the picture yourself in your mind. You create the room. Like if I read a book and you read a book, you're going to imagine a different room. I'll imagine a different room. You'll imagine a different looking character. I'll imagine a different looking character. But if we see a film, we are both seeing the same thing. So a book allows you to do that. And when you read, it gives you nuances of emotion, nuances of character. That, I mean, again, you don't take and put into a film. But when you're writing, it helps you tremendously. Certain ideas of conflict can come from there. And similarly is life. If all your input is only other people's work, you are going to become a very cheap imitation of. Right? So please live life. Take time off. Travel the world. Spend time with your friends. Bhagwati came from a friend of ours who lives in Goa. We were traveling one day, years ago, and a friend of hers had brought one really expensive bag, and she kept it down, and this friend just looked at it and said, "Oh my God, Bhagwati is with us." Right? And this happened years ago. But if we had not gone on that trip, we would have never heard of this word Bhagwati. So these things happen in life all around you. As a writer and as a creator, I think it's important to constantly be aware of things because you never know where you can get an interesting idea from. But please read. This is my humble request to all people who want to be, even if they want to be actors. Reading is very important for it. Improves your concentration, your focus on things. When you read a script, when you've read classic books, when you've read amazing books, you recognize the value of a good script. It really, really helps you. So reading is very, very crucial for the art form of storytelling.
Thank you so much.
You have the mic with you, please. Go ahead.
हाँ सर आपने बहुत सारे जॉनरा में काम किया है फरहान सर यू आर ऑलराउंडर सर कौन सा चैलेंजिंग पार्ट जैसे कि आपने म्यूजिक में हाथ आजमाया है आपने हर जगह पे टेस्ट किया है प्रोड्यूसर फिल्म डायरेक्टर एक्टर हर जगह पे कौन सा पार्ट चैलेंजिंग है और कौन सा पार्ट लविंग है नाउ यू आर एट द एज टू गिव द राइट आंसर
What does that mean?
means you have tried a lot and based on experience you can give the answer which is
I
a
want to know after
challenge.
what age does one person become to give the right answer? Sir, ऐसा कोई age नहीं होता है. You're constantly learning.
Yes, yes.
Honestly,
Yes.
I'm telling you, I work very closely with people who are much senior than I am.
Yes.
And if you ask them also, they are constantly students of what they are doing. The minute you come to a place कि अब मुझे पता है, your story is finished. Right? The generations after you will keep teaching you. You have to have the willingness to learn. You have to also have the openness to share your experiences with them. मगर ये सवाल इन्होंने पूछा था जब we started कि what is most special. It's very, very difficult, sir, to to say ये मुझे ज़्यादा पसंद है, ये कम पसंद है. It's tough. I enjoy doing all of it. But there is no place that I have reached in my life where I can say now I know. I still don't know. And I think
you are still exploring.
Of course, you must. I mean, you have to. Otherwise, you become stagnant. If you're not exploring, you become stagnant. So that's very, very crucial.
Thank you so much.
Hello. Hi, Gaurav. Hi, Farhan. So my question is that when I was in 3rd class, I saw Lakshya movie in theater. So I come from defense background. Okay. So that music while the IMA POP happens, that's motivated all of my friends to join NDA and IMA.
Thank you.
That's the impact you guys bring on us as a youngster. So after that, I saw movie in, that Orier surgical strike in 2018. That was also the motivating factor for youngsters. I was in,
Yes.
at that time I was in 3rd year engineering. Okay.
Right.
But my question here is now that what stops our industry to create that movie like on frequent basis on our defense forces. My question is that in between, lot of things has happened. Galwan Valley has happened. Or like there are lots of bravery story on bravery that is happening every day in the armed forces,
Yeah.
and that story needs to be told to the common people. They don't know what has happened into the Galwan Valley. Recently, we saw that impact the Chhawa movie brought on people. Lot of many people. I belong to North. I wasn't aware like about the actual story that happened in Chhawa. But that movie brings the impact. I want to. What is the challenges to while creating the movie on defense? That's my question is actually.
Um, I think, again, every filmmaker has their own calling in terms of what kind of movie they would like to make. And I would personally much rather a filmmaker make something they are excited about than feel the need to have to make something else just because it should be made. Right? So I would not, so I feel that it's very difficult for me to talk about other people and tell you what they should do or they should not do. That's not my place. But as far as the defense forces go, I agree with, on a personal level, I do agree that there are incredible stories of valor, of courage that will inspire people not just to join the armed forces or to be, but in their own lives. Will inspire them to be better people in a society that is being protected by people at the border. So I do agree with you. I'm actually, now that you've brought it up, I should share with you that I've just finished working on a film. The shooting is complete, a film called 120 Bahadur, which is a film about the Battle of Rezangla,
Yes.
which was fought in 1962. Thank you. Which is an incredible story of Major Shaitan Singh Bhati and his group, Charlie Company of 120 soldiers, who over one night held off close to 3,000 Chinese soldiers.
Yes.
So these stories are incredible stories, and we have to find them to be able to share them. But just to come to sometimes why maybe they don't happen often enough, a film that is made about characters, there is a film that can be about the operation itself, about the battle itself. But what sets a documentary about a battle apart from a film about a battle? A documentary is chronologically ये हुआ ये हुआ ये हुआ वो battle में ये सब हुआ था. It does not go into the lives of the people who fought that battle more often than not. Maybe just very, very casually. In a film, more often than not, you want to understand why these characters are like this. That's what a film enables, that the same battle, it gives you a different perspective to the battle. When you go into the place of, I want to know the stories of these people, in our country, you do not have the liberty to make a story about somebody's life without their permission. In the West, you can. In the West, if anything is available in public domain, you can make a story about that person without taking any permission from that person. The only law in the West that permits you, that stops you from making a film about someone is if that film or that piece of work impedes their right to make a living. If it affects their right to make a living, they will stop your film from being released. We don't have those here. We have to get personality rights. We have to get many rights. At times, the families may not want to share what has happened in their home, what has happened in their family. So that is an aspect of also not being able to tell those stories as frequently as we can. I am very indebted to Shaitan Singh Ji's family and to the families of the martyrs who were a part of the Charlie Company, that they all gave us permission. They all gave us their permission to talk about the soldiers, to talk about this officer. And hopefully when it comes out in November, you'll watch it and feel inspired again.
Thank you, Farhan.
100%. We have time for just one last question. So can we just come to one of these ladies on the front? Right there. One of them. Oh,
Hello.
hi, Jack.
Hi. Hi, sir. Big fan.
Hi.
I can't believe I'm talking to you directly. So,
You can tell him, he'll tell me.
She can't believe she's talking to you directly.
like, my question is, like, we all are like young directors that our films have been like curated by Wave. So, we are here. But my question to you, sir, like, how do we young directors can approach investors and producers to get money? Like, film needs money, obviously, and we can't afford to make that big, like, I don't know, like,
Yeah, 100% right.
Yeah.
Film, making any kind of content today, whether you're making a show, whatever it is that you're making, does require a certain amount of money.
Yes.
People across the board that I know will put money into a good idea if they hear a good idea. So I think that's the thing to really, really focus on. Like, what am I saying that is something they haven't heard before, there's something they haven't seen before. Today's time, according to me, of course, is probably the best time to be a creator.
Yeah.
Because also what has happened is, given the number of outlets that we have now, they are looking for content. Earlier, content had to go and look for an outlet. Now you're at a place where, whether it's a streaming platform where a lot of consumption happens, if on a streaming platform, content is not constantly renewed, it affects the way people consume content on that thing. If you went to any major platform and for 1 week did not find something new, you'll probably end up being like, chalo inka ho gaya, let me move on to the next platform. They have to constantly keep you engaged with something new. So for that, they have to find something new to put out there. So to me, actually, it's a really great time. I think the focus really needs to be, what is it that I'm taking to these people? I think that really, really needs to be your focus. If there is an idea that is worth investing in, you will 100% find somebody to put money into it in today's time. That's what I believe.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our time, so we need to vacate the stage now. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
such a
so much.
fabulous
Thank you so
audience.
much.
And a big thank you to Mr. Farhan Akhtar.